All right, so today we're going to look at how to fill in the x from scratch in order to do the x factor, okay? So we're going to learn how to fill out the x when given a quadratic. Why? Because we're going to use this x when factoring, okay? So we won't technically factor today, we'll just learn how to fill out the x. How do we know if we have accomplished the what? We're given a quadratic, we will be able to figure out the x. All right, so when we are x factoring, okay, we use this x factor when we want to factor a quadratic. Okay, so if you remember from the unit we did polynomials, a quadratic is a polynomial with a degree of 2. Okay, so when do we use the x factor? Okay, we will use the x factor if we have a polynomial that is a quadratic, and for right now, we're going to look at these quadratic trinomials. So there's 1, 2, 3 terms. So this is a trinomial, and it's a quadratic because there's a square there, okay? And we can put in any values for A, B, and C. Now, if you look at this x here, this shows you where these numbers come from. So I've been giving you an x that had a numerator, or I don't want to say numerator, but had a number up here and a number down here, and then you would figure out what two numbers multiply to this number and add to this number. So these numbers now are going to come from our quadratic trinomial. Okay? So let's say I give you this quadratic trinomial, and we're going to fill out the x for this quadratic trinomial. So first, let's identify the a, b, and c values. Okay, well, if you look at it, a is next to x squared, b is next to x, and c is the last number, or the constant. Remember, a constant doesn't have a variable. So the number in front of x squared, we know there's a hidden 1 there. Okay, we know that in front of x, my coefficient is 6, and then my constant, my c value, is 8. Okay, so if I was filling out the x, so a times c goes up here. So a times c is 1 times 8, which gives us 8. Our b value is 6. So now let's fill in those two numbers. So what two numbers multiply to 8 that also add to 6? Well, this is an easy one because they're both positive. We have a positive 8 and a positive 6, so I know both of these need to be positive, and it's going to be 4 and 2. And remember, it does not matter which order you put them in. You can make it 4 and 2, or you can make it 2 and 4. Now, I'm also going to add one small piece to the puzzle here. So what we have to do is we need to get in the habit of dividing these numbers by our a value. Okay, so in this case, we divide by 1. It's not going to make a difference because anything divided by 1 is just itself. But we want to get in the habit of it because when a is not 1, students forget to. So I have them divide by whatever a value is, even if it is 1. Okay? So top is a times c, and the bottom is b. That's how we start that x. All right, so let's look at another example. Now we're going to reduce here. 4 divided by 1 is 4. 2 divided by 1 is 2. Okay, example 2. Let's say we want to fill out the x for this one. So first, let's identify our a, b, and c values. So a is in front of the x squared, it's 1. B is in front of the x, that's 6. And c is my constant, that is 9. So if I look at the x here, I want a times c to be on top. So whatever a times c is. A times c is 1 times 9, which is just 9. My b value is 6. So I need two numbers that multiply to 9 that also add to 6. So since they're both positive, both the top and bottom numbers are positive, I know these two numbers will be positive. So 3 times 3 is 9, and 3 plus 3 is 6. And then we're going to divide by a. And in this case, a is 1. So we'll divide by 1. And then let's reduce. So 3 divided by 1 is 3. 3 divided by 1 is 3. Okay? And you'll see we'll do something more. We'll do one more step beyond this. Okay? Well, we're taking our time here. So we're just adding an element. I'm showing you how to design the x and how to fill them out and divide by a. All right, let's look at another example. So you should notice there's something different about this example. Okay, in this example, our a value is not 1. So that is going to change it. So first, let's identify a, b, and c. So my a value is 2, my b value is 7, and my c value is 3. So now if we do a times c, now it's 2 times 3. And 2 times 3 is 6. My b value, that's 7. Now they're both positive. And I need two numbers that multiply to 6 that add to 7. Well, 6 times 1 is 6, and 6 plus 1 is 7. And then remember, we have to divide by a. And in this case, a is 2. And if we can reduce, we reduce. 1 over 2 doesn't reduce. Do not say 1 divided by 2 is 2. That's not true. 2 divided by 1 is 2, but this is 1 divided by 2. 1/2 is just 1/2. But 6 divided by 2, oops. So actually, I guess I don't have it on here, but we should actually do 6 divided by 2 and make this a 3. Okay, that's what that should be. It should be a 3 there, because 6 divided by 2 is 3. Okay, and then thinks he's good at factoring, drops out of college algebra. Oh, I guess it did pop up there. All right, so let's practice identifying a, b, and c values. So looking at this quadratic, my a is in front of x squared, my b is in front of x, and my c is always the constant. So this should be 1, -3, and 2. You look at this one here, same thing. A is 2, b is -5, and c is -7. Now this one's a little bit different, because now there's missing terms, so you got to be careful. But remember, a is always with your x squared, b is always with your x, and c is your constant. Okay, so we know a here is -1. B is in front of your x, so that's 1. And your c, well, that's missing, and your constant's missing, so that's 0. Okay, and then this one, your a is this 1 in front of x squared, but your b is missing because this is your constant. So b is 0, and then c is -25. So that can get tricky if you have missing terms. Okay, so if we were doing the x factor here, a times c is 2, b is -3. So and don't write this down. Don't write this down here. So the two numbers that multiply to 2 and add to -3 are -2 and -1, and then we would divide by our 1 value, our a value, and reduce to get -2 and -1. Here, a times c is -14, b is -5. Two numbers that multiply to -14 and add to -5 are -7 and 2. Then we divide by a, we divide by 2. This doesn't reduce, but 2 divided by 2 does make a 1. Okay, we got to be careful on this one. A times c is actually 0. B is 1. So what are two numbers that multiply to 0 and add to 1? 0 and 1. Don't forget to divide by a. We're going to divide by -1. So 1 divided by -1 is -1, and 0 divided by -1 is 0. All right, this is a good one here. A times C is -25. B is 0. Think about two numbers that multiply to -25 that also add to 0. Well, that would be 5 and -5. But don't forget to divide by 1. And you end up with -5 and 5. Okay, so X factor works on all of these examples. All right, so let's look at another example. So let's fill out the X. We'll start by identifying A, B, and C. So my A is 3, my B is -1, and my C is -2. Let's fill out the X. We need to know what A times C is, and that's going to give me -6. My B value is -1. Okay, so now the top one is negative. So when the top one is negative, then you're going to have a combination of a negative and a positive number. Well, you want your negative to be bigger because the result of adding is -1. So -3 times +2 will work. Don't forget to divide by A, which is actually 3. And then reduce if possible. 2 over 3 does not reduce, but -3 over 3 does. It becomes -1. All right, so I want you guys to try this one. So you want to first identify A, B, and C. A is 1, B is -8, C is 12. Okay, so multiply A times C to get the top number. And then on the bottom number is your B value, which is -8. So now think of two numbers that multiply to 12 that add to -8. Okay, so remember, if the top number is positive, you either have two positive numbers or you have two negative numbers. Okay, because to multiply and get a positive, they're either both positive or both negative. But because my bottom number is negative, I know that they're both going to be negative. And 6 plus 2 is 8. But if I do -6 and -2, I will get -8. But don't forget to divide by A. We will divide by 1. And -6 divided by 1 is -6. And -2 divided by 1 is -2. So those are my two values. You'll see later that we actually do something with those numbers. Okay? So let's do one more. One where the A value is not 1. So first thing is to identify A, B, and C. My A value is 2. My B value is 1. And my C value is -6. So let's fill out the X. So what number goes on top? Well, that's going to be A times C, which is -12. What number goes on the bottom? That's going to be your B value, which is 1. Okay, so think about two numbers that multiply to -12 that add to 1. So remember, this is negative, so you're going to have a combination with a positive and a negative number. You want your bigger number to be positive because when you add, you end up with a positive 1. So 4 times 3 is 12, and 4 minus 3 is 1. So we can make it 4 and -3 to make it work. But don't forget, you have to divide by A. 4 divided by 2, that reduces. That becomes 2. But -3 over 2 does not reduce. So just leave that one alone. Leave it just the way it is. Keep it as -3 over 2. All right, so I think that's it. Filling out the X. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And it looks like we have a couple problems for homework. I will post that.